What's up, dudes? So, Climbing with CRV3 version 3 is finally out. It has been updated for Unreal Engine 5.4, and there's some cool things that this one brings along that I think will make most of my customers happy. So when I built this thing originally, I built it for everyone to have a base character to build with that could climb, and I just thought that it was a really neat idea. But unfortunately, I failed to really think about what people really needed when they wanted to drop this into their character for climbing. So we've done all of that. We've went ahead and just made it to where we can just drop this stuff in, about 15-20 minutes worth of work, and your character should be able to climb no matter who they are. And I've made everything much more accessible, easy to read, easy to change variables, and like I said, we are doing it a little bit of a different way. You know, it's going to be copy paste. It sounds crazy, especially Unreal gives so many options to do it another way, but this thing here is of course just the base third-person template. Absolutely nothing has been done to this character other than this world has been generated in my Unreal editor launcher, and it's just the base character. And I have downloaded the assets that come with Climbing with CRV3, just basically as if you were on Epic and you were to add this to your game, then this is how it'd come. It'd come with this file folder here. And inside of here, of course, we have the demo, the maps. Of course, I could show you in the maps, go straight to our character, go to our world. Everything works perfect. Yeah. But if you want to import it into your character, you will come here and we'll start with our third-person character blueprint. And ours is BP third-person character climb. So we'll just go ahead and open that up. I like these all in tabs. It just makes life so much easier. So okay, here we are in tabs. This is what it looks like now. Definitely some overhaul to the crazy mess that we used to have here. And we're going to need to open your character blueprint. So whatever character blueprint you're using as your main character blueprint, you'll need to open it. And of course this is the base model, but all the same things will apply to however you've done it. We will just have to look for these if we're using add movement inputs, if we're using our add controller yaw and pitch to our camera. Our mappings are beginning here, of course, and if we're just using the base jump. But any of these, basically, we're going to take and supersede all of these. For now, I'll show you how I do it. This is quick and easy. So here we go. We have all of this. It all fits on this one zoomed out page. You will select everything, making sure we get every little bit of it highlighted. And then we'll right click and we'll copy. It's just that easy. Or you can mash Control C while everything's highlighted. And then we'll come to our character and we will just mash Control V. Move it to where, oh no, mistakes were made. But the very first thing we'll do is we'll just go ahead and disconnect the camera input. So we'll break this link. We will disconnect our movement. So we'll break this link. And we'll disconnect both of our jumps. Now we can reincorporate these in various ways, but most of these are reused, and I'll show you how they work, and it's pretty easy. And we'll start off with this big comment. It's just telling you that the CRV3 and this code were developed together, and that any changes we make will need to be done here and possibly in the climbing CRV3 that we have right here inside of our unique CR climbing unique assets. we have our control rig, which I will bring open, but we'll do that in a moment. But out of these, right now let's just focus on the blueprint because that's step one. And what this is telling us is that we want to look for every single bright green comment. See all these bright green comments littered throughout? These things will take you to the things that you need to do or to modify to make this work just right for your character. So here we have it in steps. Step one is first we have to set these variables by right-clicking and selecting Create Variable option. Do not accidentally promote to variable. I can't say that it doesn't work, but it has created bugs for me if I promote to variable. And I believe there should be a fast way of being able to just select all of these. I have not found it. I sure haven't. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and just click on all of these except for these. We'll leave these alone just for now, but we'll get to that. For right now, let's just go through each one. Updated follow camera, we will create variable updated follow camera, and we'll just go through and do that for everyone. It only takes a moment. I like to click over here in the meat, so to speak, because if you hover over the name and you right click, you'll see that it comes up with promote to variable. That's what we don't want to do. We want to right click over here, create variable, so on and so forth. We'll just keep on. Yeah, it takes a couple moments. Oh, I did it. Undo promote to variable. Oops, see, I made the mistake. But see, I can take it away. Come over here and make sure I actually get the create variable. But you see what it does when you accidentally promote to variable? It kicks one out of a set, and this will actually be different than the one that you need that's already named down here. Don't ask me how. Sometimes. But anyway, we'll go back to creating our variables here. Yeah, I got a little overzealous. Yep. Did it again. Goodness gracious. We don't want that happening. We want to create variable. There we go. Now we're still not going to compile yet or save. We still got a good little ways to go. So that was our step one, and our second step is really our hardest step for sure in this process for these. For our character blueprint. But this step still just is very simple. I have here placed different variables, including these ones that we have not made yet, and I'll show you why. Here we want to move our character movement from our components tab. You see we just have the base, but we have a character movement, right? We'll go ahead and put that character movement there, and now it updates our updated character movement that is used throughout our blueprints here. So it basically takes your character movement and just makes sure that all of this climbing with control rig character movement are never confused or trying to battle for the same information or different information. They're the same information now. We can just get rid of our character climb here. Okay. And we'll do the same thing for all of these. We'll go ahead and drag our mesh from our components tab. Alright, we'll drop it in. We'll do the same thing with our capsule component. We'll drag it in. Our camera boom, we'll drag it in. And of course our follow camera. And we'll just hook these on up just like they go. Capsule component to capsule component, camera boom to camera boom, and follow camera to follow camera. And then we can just get rid of these that we no longer need. We'll put these over here with this. That's step 1. Now step 2 is now we have some components that we need. Now this is completely up to you. If you are not climbing on moving things and you do not want the custom dynamic climbing camera, then you don't have to mess with either one of these. Now the camera is something that I prefer, and it basically keeps your camera, you know, slowly moving to behind your character as he climbs. So as he takes curves and all, you don't get the weird effect of the camera staying in one position and as he goes around a curve all of a sudden being between his body and the thing you're climbing. So I prefer it, and so I'm going to show you how we go ahead and set that up. Now the easiest way I found is to just go in here to our third person character climb, right, and you go to these components and you'll see we have the dynamic climbing boom and camera and our capsules already in their parented spots. So under the capsule component, we will grab our dynamic climbing boom. We will drag it up here to this tab. It'll bring it back over, right? And we will put it under this capsule component in our third person character, or your, you know, whichever character you're using, right? So we'll just drop that in there, and then we'll go back and do the same thing. We will find our dynamic climbing camera that needs to be parented to the dynamic climbing boom. We'll go back from our climbing character to your character, and we'll put that right under the spring arm. So now this is our dynamic climbing camera and our dynamic climbing boom. And just to keep confusion down, we should probably go ahead and name those. Oh, about to mess up. This is dynamic climbing boom, and this is our, if we rename them here, our dynamic, if it helps if you spell correctly. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing for our capsules. Alright, so we'll just grab one, we'll drag it over here, and underneath our mesh, right, on top of our mesh, we'll connect it to our mesh, and now we have a capsule. Make sure that you drag it and put it on top of the component that you want it to attach to. So our dynamic climbing boom and camera need to connect to our capsule. Alright. And then we'll do the same thing for all these other ones. Yep, under the mesh. Boom. Go back to our climbing character. Drag our capsule back to our mesh and our character. One more time in BP third person character climb. Drag it up to our tab for our BP third person character, which is your character. Drop it in, and now you have the capsules under the mesh. Now these will not be parented correctly, so we need to go ahead and rename these and parent them to the correct ones. Now I've done left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot is technically the best for me. It keeps me from getting confused. I've kept that order throughout. You see, left hand capsule, right hand capsule, left foot capsule, right foot capsule here where we set them. Well, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to rename these things left hand capsule for this first one, okay? And then we're going to come over here and our details panel down to our sockets, and we're going to pick a parent socket for this left hand capsule. So you do that by going over here to the little file folder with the magnifying glass, clicking on it, and just searching hand. And of course, left hand capsule, this will be our left hand. Alright, now I've already done the size. You dragging it over like this will make all the sizes correct, and so that's one positive from dragging it in. If you were to add each one of these components, remember to resize each one of these capsules to about 10 radius and half height, making them spheres, which they have spheres over here, but the capsules seem to work just as well, and so I did it. So regardless, if you made spheres, just make sure that they're 10 high, and you might want to rename these left hand sphere instead of left hand capsule, but regardless, that's what these are, and that works for me. So we'll do the same thing for everyone. So our second capsule should be our right hand capsule, and of course we will come down here to the parent socket and we will parent that to hand R. Now the left foot and the right foot are a little strange because we're not actually going to parent them to the feet, but specifically the ball of the feet. So in order to do that, you just come over here. We'll name this one left foot capsule, and we will parent it down here under our sockets and our details tab to ball L, right, the ball of the foot. And then we'll do the same thing for this last one. We will come over here to the variable name under our details panel and rename it to right hand, or left foot, my bad, capsule, and we will parent it to right here in our search. I search ball and we get ball R. There we go. Now that we've done that, we can take out each one of our capsules. I would not trust that these are the same even though they're named the same. And we're just going to hook them up. Left foot to left foot, right foot to right foot. I misspelled capsule in that one. Okay, now we can just and one other thing that we want to add, and we're going to have to add it without dragging it over, is our grab physics, right? So we need our grab physics, which is one of these also. We will grab our, we will come up here to our add in our components tab, and we will add our, I look up handle because we want a physics handle, and we will rename it grab physics. And there we go. Now we have our grab physics. We can drag it out and we can just plug it straight into our grab physics. And as you can see, dynamic climbing and all has already found their spots, which is crazy. And now that all that's actually, just to be safe, we will pull out our climbing boom and our climbing camera, and we will hook those up also, getting rid of all of these. Now that that has been done, we can finally go ahead and just right click on all of these and create variable, because these are how they're found throughout the world. Now all of our variables have been named, all of our capsules have been set, and at this point we need to do one last thing. So here we're doing an event begin play, right? But when we copy paste it in, our event begin play became a custom event. So we can do one of two things. Either we can run our string from the end of this one down here to go into here, or move all of this section up here. But since we have this custom event, we might as well just rename it and name it continue event begin play. And we are simply going to drop our continue event begin play here. And when you know, I misspelled it. There's supposed to be a T there. Alright. Oh, already messing up. We can actually bypass all of this now, seeing as how we've done that. So now that it's in our character, we can just bypass all of this, because it's already being done for us in our initial event begin play. There we go. So now we're basically doing all of this only once now, and our event begin play is firing off. Now we can mash compile. And now we have to just pay attention to some of these. We'll get to these later, but these are climbing speeds. Basically everywhere you see these bright green comments, we want to check those out. So right here's the next one. Really, this should be named step 4, but in order to make anything climbable, it has to have a physical material with the word climbing in it, and we have to spell climbing right. But lucky for us, that's already done, because I've included it with this asset pack. So if you're using a physical material, you will have to copy that physical material or duplicate it, rename it into a physical material with the word climb in it, and use that in any of the places that you have a place where you want it climbed, but or a surface that you want climbed, but otherwise must still follow the rules of your physical material. Now this will be important when you start adding things like ice and other things into the world to add slippage. Of course, that's more complex. I did not make anything for that specifically, but in my trials, branching off from this system works really well. So in our third person map here, I can just basically click on the things that I want to have climbed. Alright, now I'm in my details panel over here on the right. If you scroll down, you'll see a physical material override. Well, you'll simply click on that, and you see I already have a physical material named climbing material. Now we can drop that right on in. Let's go ahead and pick all of our walls and call them physical material. We'll just do the physical override. Now of course, if this is, like I said, is already there, you can go into the material itself, right? You can pull up said cube, and you can set the physical material here in the actual actor. Now this would overrun over everything that you use this cube for, which would make anything using this cube climbable. So I suggest actually not doing it this way, unless of course you had some cubes that you've duplicated, and these cubes have different rules than this master cube here, and they will allow you to make custom climbing materials or custom climbing components that still follow the physical material rules. So if you wanted to change this, of course you can right here, under our simple collision physical material, but we just won't do that right now. We're going to use the override because none of these have actually got any physical material in them, so there's no need to do it here. We can do it right in our world, which also makes climbing it very easy. Alright, so now when we play, we should be able to take our character over. Now I have it designated to the F key on the keyboard or to my right shoulder on my gamepad. And then I mash up after climbing, and there we go. So we are now following all the climbing rules. We're climbing along. Of course, our animation's not there yet, but this is what we want. Basically, we want it to move all over the surface. Oop, caught the outside. And there we go. We now have a climber, even though they're just kind of really just flying. And you see this weird snap. We're going to fix that very easily too. Alright, so our third person character climbing is now done. Oh yeah, while we're here, let's go ahead and test our climbing camera. So this is our climbing camera. Acts just like the normal third person character climb, or the third person character camera while you're not climbing. But when you go to climbing, without touching any of the controls, the camera will adjust to follow behind us. And of course we can manipulate the camera, but when we let go, it just goes back to the center behind the character. This makes for the best looking climbing for sure, but okay, everything's working. Alright, now we're going to step 2. So now we can close everything except for our third person map, and now we will bring our animation blueprint, ABP Manny Climb version 3, up. And there's 3 places in this graph you're going to need to look. We need to look at our main states, of course, our event graph, and here in our main states we can get to our anim graph. Now that's the 3 places we have to go. Let's put this back in a tab. Those are the 3 places we're going to have to go. And we start with our event graph. Now that we have our climbing event graph up, we will need to bring your event graph up. Most people find this in their characters, animations, ABP Quinn or ABP Manny. Of course, Quinn's not going to work because, you know, she basically takes all the information from the Manny. So you can do this directly in your ABP Manny or your ABP Manny, you know, your specific ABP Manny. That's the most important thing, is whichever one your animation blueprint, you're going to want to do this here. Now, of course, this is all once again based on the base third person character. You know, that's pretty much all they come with. It's real bare bones, but this process should work for either way. So for the same thing, once again, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take all of this, everything in our green comments here, right? We're going to copy it, right? I didn't grab everything, just what's here, because this is where it gets fun over here. Alright, we're going to bring this back to our character that we're trying to import this to, and we're just going to click over here and Control V. Now, me myself personally, I use the pins straight off of these 2 events that come with the ABP, the initialize animation and the update animation, and we just plug those straight into these parts here. But there's some things we're gonna have to do. So before we even do any of that, first let's set all of our variables, because that's always our step 1, right? So once again, we right click in the meet, make sure we create and not promote, and we'll go through this process once again. We're just creating all of these variables, right? We're just going along creating variables. If you already have a delta time, you can ignore this delta time, but you will have to feed that delta time into parts of it. So I suggest that if you do have a delta time, just keep it, but just make sure that if you add anything to any of these that use delta time, make sure that they use your delta time. Right now I actually don't have it used. This is just for future projects and future progress with this project, so this one can actually be ignored for right now, but we're gonna go ahead and set it because it's in our variables. Alright, we're gonna create this. We're gonna create this. Create. Yep. Create and create. Alright. Now, that's step 1. Our step 2 is now we have to drag and get in from our owning actor here and do a cast. So this cast right here works for my blueprint, but it will not for yours, because as you can see, it's made for the BP third person character climb, as with this one, our actual variable that we set. But now that we have all those, let's go ahead and compile just to make sure everything, oh yeah, look, no weird variables or anything yet, so good, everything's perfect. From here we need to drag, got a little carried away, drag from our get owning actor, and we will want to cast to the character for this, for our current character, which is our BP third person character, or whatever your character is named. We want to cast to that one, if you're not already doing it over here, by the way, because this character just comes with this cast to character. This does not this does not access your blueprint directly. We want to access our character climb blueprint, right? So if you have your character's blueprint already, you could just take that character blueprint and you will have to pipe it over here. Well, of course that's not going to work yet, because this also has to be reset, which is very easy. We just come over here down to our pin for our set as BP climb. We will right click. Oh, we got to disconnect it now. It can't be connected to this. In fact, we can just get rid of our old cast. We will drag from here and go ahead and feed this, because as soon as we're done, we're going to want to grab this. Of course it won't do it. We right click here. I'm telling you to right click over the blue. No, what we want to do is right click over this. Oh, I'm so dull, y'all. So no, we're not going to want to right click or anything on this one. Once we've actually just highlighted it, you see over here in our details panel, we have our variable name and then our variable type, and it's our variable type currently is our BP third person character climb. We can just come in here and search, right? Search character, or whatever yours is named to find it, and we will pick that BP third person. Now it's going to tell you this, and yes, unfortunately this is a painful side effect of what I've done, but I have no other ways of making this faster or easier, so we will go ahead and change variable type. Now what that does is it changes our pins here where we get it, but it's okay. This one place right here is the only place we have to worry about it. So from this blue line, basically we're replacing our red lines. Now it'll feed right into here, and it'll feed right into there if it works. Yep. Okay, just make sure we have all of our pins connected right there from our cast to our set. And now our last stage is this one, but this one isn't so easy, because even though they're the same variables, it's found in a different place. So as you can see, these targets are no longer going to work. But that's easy peasy. we're going to select all of these and we're just going to delete them, because it's really easy right here to find exactly what it is we need. We will start from top and go to bottom, and we will pull out each one of our variables that we just set in our character blueprint earlier. So from as BP, we'll look up can mantle. Oh, and there it is, right? Same thing. CR climb ending, done. To our jump off climb, done. Drag over to our moving climb, done. Grabbing, let's keep these in order. Control Shift S, center, align everything by center. Let's just move this up one more socket here. I don't think we need all of this room, but it's better when you have it. Alright, so we're at grabbing. Okay, and now we're going to pull off and we're going to find our cornering, right? Our cornering climbing speed. Of course, now we're going to look up our max climbing speed. Our left hand target. See, there's our next one will be our right hand target. Oh, probably helps if you spell it correctly. Our left foot target. And our last but not least, our right foot target. Alright, and then just making sure we get all these in the right places. Right foot target to right foot target. Left foot to left foot. Right hand to right hand. Left hand to left hand. Our max to our max. Our cornering to our cornering. So on and so forth. Grabbing, moving climb, jump off climb, CR climb ending, and can mantle. And our last thing is from any one of these pins or from an added pin, however you want to do it, or we can do the create a custom event just like we had done in our character blueprint. For now, this right here will do because we just want to make sure this works. Alright, well, you can see now that's our first 3 steps, but we have 2 more down here. Now we must go into our main states and add a climb state with rules letting us go into no animation states. Okay, so from our event graph, right, now we will want to come over here to our main states. Oh, the only way to get to them from here. Alright, so here, just like here, if we go into our anim graph of our animation blueprint Manny climb, and we were to go to our main states, you see that from here the only difference between that one and yours is we have a way to enter and exit our locomotion and our fall loop. So we'll just take this right here, we'll copy it, we will Control V, paste it, and then we're going to make a couple rules right quick from our locomotion and our falling loops. So from our locomotion, in order to go from locomotion to climbing, we will want to be, we'll get our walking and we'll get our climbing. Alright, so if we're going from our locomotion to our climbing, we want to make sure that we are not walking and boolean climbing. There we go. We'll just copy paste that. We'll copy that one. We'll go back to our main states, and then we'll drag from our climbing to our locomotion. And we'll go ahead and go into that rule. We will control V where we dropped our walking and climbing here. But this time we want to be walking and not climbing. See how simple that is? Okay. Now we'll go back to our main states, and we'll do the same thing for fall loop. So from falling to climbing, we'll go to this rule. What did I just do? Goodness gracious. Okay, let's try this again. Get is climbing. Okay. So for this one, we want from our fall loop to climbing, we should be what am I doing? Not boolean here. Okay, so we want to be not falling, pull out our and boolean, and we want to be not falling and climbing, and that's how we go into climbing from falling. We'll copy this. We'll go back out to our main states. We'll go from climbing to our falling, right? We'll go in there to this rule. We will control V. Alright, and once we've controlled V, now instead of not falling and climbing, we want to be not climbing and falling, right? Okay, well, now there's that whole part. Of course, we go back into our event graph here. You see that we had a fifth step. Now we need to go to our anim graph and place our control rig into the live feed, remembering to make sure all our variables are in place and every pin is executed. So here we'll go to our main states, we'll go to our anim graph, and you see here we have a real basic, the basic anim graph, but basically wherever your output pose is, you're going to want to put your character or your control rig in between this last output pose and whatever else you've got going on up here. But you want it to be able to feed into the output pose at any given time. And we're going to want to do something different here. So first, when we're playing a game, we notice that our character wants to flow up and like stick to the ground. Well, that's that basic IK that we got there. Also, we're doing something wrong. Oh, here we go. Remember when I said earlier to make sure we connect all the pins? We have to do that part too. They will connect now, by the way, that we've changed this setting over here to our current BP, and of course a cast to our current BP. These two have to match. But let's try that again. Now we should go into, there it is, haha. So we should no longer be trying to walk, and we got to do something about the stickiness. So if we go back to your character blueprint, right, and we go into the anim graph, right now this control rig is for climbing, for your foot IK. And so basically here for not, you want to add an and boolean, and you want this if you are climbing add us a not boolean. So now, in order to do the foot finding IK, we now want to no longer be doing, we don't want to do that while we're falling or while we're climbing. Okay, now if we go into our world here, we come over here and we go to this wall and we try to climb it, we'll notice we no longer, oh, there we go, nice smooth transition. All right. So now we want to add our control rig, and we will do that by going back into our climbing control rig, or climbing animation blueprint, and we'll go to our anim graph, and we will basically select everything here inside this green comment, right? We will copy, and here we will just basically control V, drop it in to where the feed feeds right into it. We will connect our connectors, we will compile. Now all of these variables should have came with you. Make sure all of these variables are set except for our alpha, which we don't want to mess with, but it needs to be there and it needs to be 1. So here we go. We run over here, and just like that. Now this animation isn't perfect because it's made for a bigger person. So our timing's a little off. It's kind of weird just because of that reason. However, but our timing's so weird right now because of basically the way we have it set up. And we're going to fix all of that. We're going to fix some of the things here in this world that we want to fix. So now we've done everything we can in our main graphs. Our last one is our third person character climb. This is our control rig, our CR climbing graph version 3. And once we're in here, we see that we once again have our green comments. Follow the green comments for things that you want to change. And right now it's basically, she's just bigger, I mean she's smaller than our Manny. So in our very beginning here, we can see that those are adjustable right here inside of these 3 floating floats. See, they're all floating out here outside of the graph. But right now she's moving very quickly, so we want to change this to make her take a little bit more time to find some hand placement and all. So we're going to take this number from 50 and we're going to bump it up to 60. And let's just see what that does. Let's see what that does to our Quinn as she tries to climb. Oh yeah, she's definitely getting some more bending out. But at the end of the day, we see that her hands are just way too high, and that's probably 90% of her problem. We can adjust that too back in our control rig graph. Right? So we come here and we see, of course, if we read this green comment, we can see why would we would want to change these. But here in our trace climbs, for our hands especially, our feet seem to be doing okay, so we're really just going to be messing with these. We want to make sure that we have our view of our details tab, and we're just going to click over our right hand trace. Now in our state and our start trace modifier, you can see that we start at 15 below the spine, right? So in our z-axis, by the way, I explain it here that our z-axis is our up and down, so her hands are too high, so we want to bring her hands down somewhat. So while I have this highlighted and see it in my details panel, we're going to come over here and we're going to bring this one down, say to negative 30, and this one down to negative 45 for our left hand. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for our right hand here, right, negative 30 for our start trace modifier, and negative 45 for our end trace modifier. Oh, and just while we're looking at this, you can see that right now in my details panel, I'm looking at Manny, even though our character is our ABP, is our Quinn. So if you come over here to the preview, you can see that our preview mesh is Manny, and we just want it to be Quinn. We just scroll down here, enable Quinn, and we can see now that we can see her. Okay, just that's just for people, just for people to know, so that when you're doing your character and you want to see how these things are acting, because you see, if I do this now, I can see her climbing hands, or where her hands are searching in the world. So this is her left hand, and this is about where she's going to be looking in the world for places to grab while she's climbing. But if we go back over here to our details panel, and we were to take this negative 30 and negative 45 we just changed, and let's just change this negative 30 to 0 just to show you. You see how much further it comes up? This will basically allow us to move these hands and all around. Now the thing is I don't think she's going to grab quite there. I think that something else is going on too. But as of right now, as you can see, when she starts, oh, yep, it's pretty good actually. Yep. But I see a lot of her problem is that her pelvis is too low for the rest of her body. So while she's climbing, she's kind of sitting down almost on her feet. And that's why her hands look so high. Also, easily adjustable here in our climbing graph. Now that we've adjusted those two, we basically made her feet and her hands closer together. Let's go ahead and just turn this off. This line trace. Now, okay, so we don't have to see the line being drawn. But we'll come on down here, right? Oh, and if we want to increase interpolation speed, we can do that here, or decrease it. If you want it to move slower, you just increase this number. All of these green comments will now lead you in the perfect right direction if you want to modify this. I'm just showing some base things that you can and can't do. But here in our pelvis trace, so if you're looking at it, our pelvis trace is right here. Our pelvis and our back trace, but our pelvis trace specifically, I have no additional Y value added right now. And if you read this comment, you can see that it says that basically we can keep her butt further up in the air and the rest of her body just by adding some additional Z value. So let's add 15 to the additional Z, and let's see if we can do something. Let's see what that looks like now. Oh yeah, now she's way above her feet. And yeah, everything's working perfect. And it's just that quick and easy. That is how you can now use the new updated control rig, or climbing with control rig version 3, updated for Unreal Engine 5.4, and you now have a climbing character. Yep, it's pretty nifty, right? Also, just to show here, I want to go to our map. Oh yeah, let's save everything. Goodness, I'm so used to having my save set to every time I compile. But here we're going to be looking at our Manny climbing the way that I have set him up to climb. I've made some changes, but for the most part everything's still pretty normal. He still climbs normal. I do have him set up more on a timing event for his hand placement and his legs. That way there's no more bunny hopping. And of course, he's still using the things that we've changed for the control rig for Quinn, so his harms aren't going quite as high as I'd like them to. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, I just wanted to really show y'all this right here. Oh man, I forgot to go ahead. This is a new, I haven't done anything. We will need to go to our current location, and you know, we want to no, we want our, there we go. But of course we don't want there yet. We want to come to this big old rock here. Used to, this was unclimbable, but now we have some nifty things going on. We can now climb and keep our hands in real world space on moving objects. It is now climbing with the same control rig logic that we climb on static meshes. Oh no, made a mistake. And of course it works on moving climbing things now, so that's fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for purchasing Climbing with Control Rig. I hope this setup helps you, and anything that I can do to help you in any kind of future endeavors, please just send me an email and I'll get to you. My email can be found on the Epic on the Epic Marketplace under my Climbing with Control Rig asset. And anything you need, just let me know. Thank you.